Yes. What about those Kiwanians that are in Division 25? Would you like to bring greetings at this time? Division 25? Not yet. Division 24 then. Those Kiwanians in Division 24 would like to bring greeting at this point. We will then move to 23 East. Am I not hearing right tonight? Division 24. Those Kiwanians that would like to bring greetings from Division 24. If not, we'll move to our own division, Division 23 Central. Is the mic working right
Yes,
tonight?
the mic is working. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm hearing it loud and clear.
Okay, great. Good evening. Yeah. So I am Kiwan and Eurydice from 23 Central, online. And at the moment I'm alone, but I'm sure that there'll be others coming shortly. I guess they're in traffic.
And the rain is in Kingston. No, well, if it's in Kingston, I'm all the way in the western, in Montreal.
Yes.
So well, I was wondering whether there was something happening there.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I know more people are on the way. Okay.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Living on 23 Central, 23 Central.
Live at 23 East, PE Junior.
23 East?
Yes, 23 East. I'm sure
I went to that before, but I'll go back. We'll go back.
Yes.
Division 23 East.
23 West.
23 West.
23 West. I thought I went there before too, but Division 24 West. Anyone from Division 24 West?
23.
Let me go back to, sorry, I'm mixing. 23 West.
Pleasant good night. This is Director Christine from Diverse Professionals of Portmore Pines. I bring you warm greetings from Portmore and thanks for the invite.
Right. We welcome you, Director Christine, and thank you for coming. 24.
No.
23. I keep saying 24. I don't know why I'm going back there. 23 East, West, Central. Let us go back to Central. 23 Central.
Great evening, fellow Kiwanians. This is DP Dominique. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I bring you cool greetings from the Kiwanis Club of JTS Ranju, as well as 23 CSO. I'm looking forward to a wonderful meeting with you this evening. Club Kingston. Greetings, President Paul.
Yes. Thank you, DP.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thank you for coming, and we certainly welcome you. Let me get it right this time. 23 Central.
Sure. I guess we can move on to our SLPs now, PE Junior.
Okay, what about our SLPs? There seem to be quite a few online.
Pleasant evening, everyone. This is President Arena from the Dunum Park Technical High School Key Club. And with me, I have FA Aldith Douglas and FA Duval Cousins, whilst awaiting more members. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening, and we do give thanks for the invitation.
Yes, it's a great pleasure in having you with us today, as usual, and thank you for coming.
Good evening, everyone. Secretary Roseanne Francis from St. Louis High School. Along with me is the president, and I think we have 2 members. I'm looking forward to a great meeting.
Yes, we certainly welcome you on your team. And as I've said before, you won't be disappointed.
Good evening,
Right.
everyone.
SLPs.
Good evening, everyone. President Kijani Williams from the Kingston College Key Club. We are currently 7 in number, and we thank you for the invitation, and we look forward to a very inspiring meeting.
Quite a delegation there. We thank you for coming, and we certainly welcome you.
Hi, good
SLPs.
evening, PE. Good evening, PE Junior.
Yes.
And
Good evening.
good evening to the Kiwanis of Kingston. This is IPLG Karan Wood, and I'm here on behalf of my club, Youth Circle K, and we are actually 4 in numbers. Thank you.
Right. And thank you for coming. SLPs, any more for SLPs that are on at this time? That's it. If that's it, then we move on to those non-Kiwanian that we're hoping will become Kiwanian soon. Visitors. What about our visitors? Do we have any visitors that would like to bring greetings? Any visitors at this time that would like to bring greetings? Okay, if not, then are there any other Kiwanian, any other person would like to bring greetings at this point? Let me welcome you all and thank you all for coming. And if not, I won't hold up any more of the time. I just put it back onto President Paul. Thank you, President Paul.
Yes, thank you very much, PE Junior, for doing the welcome and introduction. I have one apology for absence. Our director for fundraising, Director Warren, is currently overseas, and at this time I ask Secretary DLG Willie if he has any other apologies. DLG Willie?
Yes, we have an apology from Chairman Oreen Gordon.
Okay, then. Noted. Thank you very much, DLG Willie. Okay, we move on with our program. We'll now move to our birthdays, our recognition of birthdays and anniversaries to be done by our Vice President and Voting Editor Newton. Over to you, VP Newton.
Thank you, President Paul. Good evening, everyone. This week can be called our anniversary week, because we have 4 members who are celebrating and it's all anniversaries. So today, the 14th of December, is the anniversary of Kiwanian Windsor, Sawyer, and Loy. It is also the anniversary of DP Arturo Stewart and Marcia, today, the 14th of December. On Friday, which is the 17th of December, we have Director David Hall and Carol celebrating their anniversary. And on the 19th, we have PD Gladstone Mallet, some of us know him as the Sarge, and Faye, who are celebrating their anniversary on the 19th. So you'll understand why I said this seemed to be our anniversary week. But everyone who we have on our list, it's an anniversary that they're celebrating. So happy anniversary to them. And now through President Paul, I would like anyone who is celebrating any special occasion to just open your microphone and tell us so we can celebrate with you. Anyone? Okay, well, I know everybody is interested in listening to what Chairman Dr. Andrew Burton has to say. I mean, I always say that any man who can dress in a bow tie like that must have some really interesting things to tell us. So back to you, President Paul.
Yes, thank you very much, Newton. But before we move on, we'll take our Q&A education and ask DLG Willie to do us that honor, please.
Thank you, President Paul. Good evening, fellow Kiwanians. The last few weeks, we have been looking at the standard form for club bylaws and club policies. This week, seeing that we have a number of new Kiwanians in the room, I'm going to look back at the paper I did on the history of the formation of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, which I hope you find interesting. Kiwanis International was in its 49th year when in 1964, it established roots in Jamaica. By this time, the main lines of Kiwanis International had been established. The story of its establishment in Jamaica began in 1963 when Alan Talbot, an English insurance executive working in Jamaica, suggested that a Kiwanis Club be established in Kingston. A conversation between Alan Talbot, apparently impressed by what he had seen of Kiwanis in Nassau, Bahamas, and Frank Melhedo, a Jamaican businessman, initiated the Kiwanis movement in Jamaica. On January 17, 1964, Kiwanians, new Kiwanians, please note, Frank Melhedo met with 10 other men at the Sheraton Hotel, now the Wyndham Hotel, and was appointed to chair a steering committee for the establishment of a club in Kingston. The required target of a minimum of 50 men was reached and surpassed by March 24, 1964, when some 71 men agreed to become charter members of the club. The Kiwanis Club of Nassau, though just 15 months old, was a sponsoring club of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. The Kingston's club next step was to seek affiliation with a district. There are two options: proximity of Jamaica to Florida, and no doubt the growing influence, especially in commercial and industrial development of the United States in Jamaica, prompted the newly formed club to seek affiliation with the Florida district. The second option was to imitate Kingston's sponsoring club, the Kiwanis Club of Nassau, which was part of the Ontario, Quebec Maritime District of of Canada. Florida agreed and then reneged on his promise to accept the Jamaican organization. Frank Melhedo approached indirectly, I must say, the Ontario, Quebec Maritime District in Canada. Canada, a member of the British Commonwealth, welcomed Jamaica with open arms when a newly formed club sought links with the Canadian rather than the Florida district. The Kiwanis Club of Kingston became the first club in Jamaica, making it the 12th Kiwanis nation and the 5,224th club of Kiwanis International. Fellow Kiwanians, that's your Kiwanis education for this evening. Thank you, President Paul, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, DLG Will, for that, for sharing that rich history of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and its formation. Okay, we'll now move on to our main feature of our program. One moment. Of our program, and I'll call on DLG Stewart, sorry, DP Stewart.
Thank you, President Paul. If my voice sounds a little odd, it's don't be too alarmed. I just haven't been too well these last few days. Anyway, this evening, President Paul.
You're sounding younger.
I didn't know that was the effect. I'm glad to hear. Okay. President Paul and guests, fellow Kiwanians and guests, it is my pleasure this evening to introduce the evening as up close and personal. I won't be taking on the role to introduce our speaker, because that is what his role is supposed to accomplish. So other than to say that he's one of our newest members, he's a medical doctor, and we are very happy to have him, because it has been very interesting that since his early introduction into the club, we have seen a lot of energy that we really were hoping to get from the newer members. So without any further ado, I'll let Kiwanian, Dr. Andrew Burton, tell you about himself, which is what Up Close and Personal is all about. Okay, fellow Kiwanians, let's welcome him. Let's open your mics and welcome him, but don't forget to close it back after.
Right, good evening, everyone. My club and visitors, SLPs. I didn't get to completely scroll through the participants list, but I'm sure I have a few friends who logged on. I see Jody. Could I ask you, Paul or Stuart, to get host privileges to be able to share PowerPoint, just to keep myself on track. I have some photos on a PowerPoint to share. So I found it interesting being asked to give one of these to share in the Up Close and Personal. I think I've just been getting the hang of introducing other people in our meetings. So to be invited to talk about myself for 20 minutes, I wondered what, thanks as to the host privileges, I wondered what it is that I would share. Well, let's go ahead. So this is my version of Up Close and Personal. And basically, my task is to introduce myself. So from the 3 photos there, I'm basically a fun-loving guy. I consider myself a simple, humble Jamaican. I was gonna say one of the newest Kiwanians, but I take this opportunity to highlight that I'm probably no longer the newest, since at least there's been 2 rotations of new Kiwanians. And I can say, at least for our senior and Zuri, that, you know, I have a few months on you guys, having brought it into the club. So, but Kiwanis has become, and as I'll talk about later on in the talk, Kiwanis and groups of Kiwanis have become a big part of my life. And as I reflected, I realized how much so. And the most recent graduation photo there on the right shows that, well, to me, what it symbolizes for me is that I'm a lifelong student, lifelong learner, and lifelong servant. So I started with talking about who I am. Baby picture there to show where I'm coming from. I was born to Howard and Hewlett, otherwise known as Angela. That's my late mom, in October 4, 1989. I had a split upbringing in both the urban and rural areas. I was growing up in Kingston mostly for the school part of life, and I spent some time in Goshen, St. Elizabeth, and in Mandeville, Manchester, with my parents as well, for what I would consider to be my more rural exposure. But mostly during my time in Kingston, I was raised by my grandmother figure. I call her my grandmother figure because she biologically is a cousin of my maternal grandmother, but she is the person whom I would regard as my main guardian growing up. And she established 3 major focuses in my life. That it's important to get an education, which we'll go into how that played out. That church is important, and having faith and a strong belief in God. And food is important. I went to her as a relatively scrawny kid, and she made it her duty, as Jamaican grandmothers tend to do, to feed up the young ones. And well, still to this day, I guess my friends would consider me a foodie, somebody who enjoys, you know, a good meal. So this photo to your left shows my grandmother, affectionately known as Aunt Cherry. The photo to the upper right shows my father and my half brother, Alec. And the photo to the lower right shows my dad and my mom, who passed away in 2017. And this, well, her passing, of course, was one of the biggest things in terms of tragedies that I would have had to deal with in life, through also one of the most difficult scholastic programs. This is while I was doing my specialization in pediatrics. But basically this core right here, although this, of course, it's hard to capture my entire family, my entire support system in one photo. But this year, my immediate family has been the core of my support system growing up. They've taught me my values, my attitudes to life. They've kind of shaped the things that have made me who I am. And so I give thanks to them. Family behind God and behind myself, family is everything. Right. And family really has kind of shaped how I approach things in life. Basically, I have adopted different families as I go through. Picture to the left-hand side is a portion of my church family. This is my praise team. We call ourselves Full Joy praise team. To the upper right, those are two of the longest friends I've had. To add to that group would be Chairman Arsenio Sawyers. I couldn't find a photo of him for this one, but coming all the way from high school together to now, still maintaining a close core of support and friendship and love. And to the lower right, what many of you will notice, Chairman Dr. Martino, who unfortunately can't make it to this meeting, but we joined Kiwanis together and as part of a work team, a work family of co-workers. Done a lot of things together and have, as I've said, have formed a family unit, even in tough situations such as or work in the public government health system. So yes, these are a few of the faces that mean a lot to me. Continue to show many different family units that I have, church family members, family of friends. Pictured there is a recent photo from a conference at Bustamante Hospital, a lot of my mentors and friends at work. So you can see I make family units out of different groups and different sectors in where I am, and basically as a coping and as a survival strategy, because without a community and without the encouragement and support from others, especially when you're feeling low, it sometimes is difficult to keep going, to keep striving. So to make mention of my educational background, going from left to right, I had my early childhood education at the World of Little People. This was a school in the Ligani area. That was a photo from my graduation. And I wanted to highlight from the subsequent two pictures, I really only noticed it when trying to put this together to kind of guide the conversation for me and to give some visual aid for those of you who are watching. I noticed that the K, the badge on my collar has been there. At Heidel Proprietary School, I was a part of the Builders Club, and I think I was the president of the Builders Club, if I can remember. Yeah, I was the president in grade 6, and that would have been that badge. And in my departure of Campion College, to the photo on the far right, there's my Key Club badge there on the collar of the shirt. So I had it on the slide. Notice the ever-present K, which has continued to be a symbol for me of, again, community, family, service, and service above self, essentially. And that has continued to shape even my current job as a medical doctor, as service in times when we were met with harsh circumstances, is what will keep you focused. When you have a disgruntled parent, a very, very sick child on the job, it always takes me back to the original point. Why am I doing this? Why go through this? Why stay up 24, 48 hours at a time to just keep going and possibly eventually burn out because we've signed up and we've taken an oath to service. So what do I do? Presently, I'm a pediatrician, and that's a medical doctor who has specialized in training in care of children and adolescents and young people. I work both in the public system and the private system. Regarding the public arm of my work, I work at the pediatric hospital, the only pediatric hospital in Jamaica. And well, controversially at the moment, the only specialized pediatric hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean, Bustamante Hospital for Children, located on Arthur Wint Drive. Privately, I practice at the Kids Clinic, which is a sublet of the El Shaddai Health Center of Old Hope Road in Kingston. And those of you who know the names of the titles at hospitals, I'm a senior registrar right now, which essentially means that I've completed my specialization. I'm not by post a pediatric consultant in the hospital, but I'm of the set of senior doctors. And I'm a medical officer level 2. Of course, the levels denote change according to the years that you've been practicing and the certification that you've gotten. And I'd say right now, I'm an aspiring pediatric dermatologist. I have an interest in doing some further studies within pediatrics, within the subspecialty of childhood skin diseases. A lecturer and teacher, love to teach, love to share. I haven't done this much, in terms of just sharing about myself and my aspirations, but in terms of lecturing medical students, teaching, training, helping with exam preparation. It's something I'm interested in the future, and I hope to be a published researcher soon. So this just gives some insight into some recreational aspects of my life. And it's interesting I class this under recreation because a lot of these photos actually come from situations at work. I had to include Chairman Dr. Martino and show the lighter side of work at a children's hospital. This is us masquerading as superheroes for the purpose of our children. So, Childhood Cancer Month recently has gone by in September, and the theme this year was Gold Ribbon Heroes. This photo was taken years ago, but from time to time, we honor the children that we work with. We honor their resilience, we honor their strength, their bravery in combating illness by doing things that we think will uplift their time at the hospital. And that includes, dressing up sometimes, putting on a show for them. In this case, this was an attempt to make some of their action figures and their comical heroes come to life. So, this was my do-it-yourself attempt to make a Captain America shield and to dress as Captain America. And there's Chmn Chairman Dr. Martino dressed as Doctor Strange. For those of you who are familiar with the Marvel Universe, you get it. But yeah, the kids loved it. The staff had fun. Later on, you'll see some photographs of other staff members who dressed up as superheroes. But we wanted to encourage that twist because a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of persons come into the medical field. And the hope would be that we come in with the heart of a servant and that we want to help the people who we're serving. Sometimes it's the public opinion is that doctors have a God complex and we think we're heroes. So this was an interesting twist on that we're not parading as if we are above and beyond and we are doing heroic deeds, but we serve true heroes. We serve the kids who fight, and we do it because we care for them and because we want them to get better. So yeah, this was an interesting moment, and this was, I think, something that really brought me back again to why it is we do what we do. To the upper right, that just shows we did a a rainbow color day. This is one ward's team. As you can see the number of persons. This is the number of persons it takes to look after maybe about 50 to 60 children on a daily basis, across interns to senior doctors. And we got everybody to dress in a different color. And, you know, after the work was done, we took some photographs. Again, it got the parents involved, it got the children involved. Yeah. And also on the recreation, this is a photo to the lower right-hand corner from the Reggae Marathon. This would be 4 years ago now, 2017, when I went with a few of my church friends there to Negril to complete the 10K. Not in that form again presently, but this is one of the exercises that I enjoy for recreation, running, and particularly road running. Would never say I'm an athlete, not a sprinter, and not one who has competitively run or even competitively done sports throughout high school. But it is something that, you know, allows me to clear my head. A good activity for fitness, and yeah, it's fun. Right, and these are the photos to show some other people who I work with from Bustamante. Maybe some of you might see faces, you know, doctors dressed up as heroes out of children's comics. Yeah, this we did also. This was for these set of photos were for commemorating childhood cancer awareness specifically, because those kids, the fight that those kids go through is big, and to honor them and to just give them a treat on that day. Of course, they enjoyed calling out to their favorite heroes, you know, Superwoman, Powerpuff Girls, Batman and Batwoman, etc. So I stop on this slide now to just share a bit of what motivates me. And it's a mix of just mindful thought and scripture, which represents, I guess, the things that are at my core, what matter to me. Philippians 4 verse 13 has been my guiding light from childhood days. And it's something my grandmother used to drill into me whenever I felt less than, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that gave me strength. And that gave me the reassurance that nothing I was doing, nothing I was trying to accomplish was only based on how I felt about how I could do, or the ability that I felt I was equipped with. But I do it with a larger guiding force behind me. I do it with the Lord's strength, the Lord who has been through every situation I can imagine, the eternal God. So that put me at ease, and that has kept me going ever since. The next point, that there's something always bigger than ourselves. And this is not just a reference to God or a supernatural being, but just that there's always a concept bigger than just us. In any situation where I'm tempted to feel slighted or offended or hurt, I try to put into words just a concept where I always step back and see what the bigger picture is in the situation. If I'm dealing with a difficult parent at work, a parent has offended me, has come up and complained about this good for nothing doctor, this slow doctor who isn't seeing the patients fast enough. It's easy to be offended, and that's the initial knee-jerk reaction. But taking a step back and looking at the situation that they've had to endure, the waiting time that they have had, the sick child that they're holding and have been holding for the few hours that they've been at the hospital and the days before when they were watching, hoping that things would get better. The other situations that I would not have known about in their lives that bring them strife and bring them grief. It's not acceptable that they're taking out their frustration on me in that moment. But this is not a personal attack. And this helps me to cope, and this helps me to move along and to continue to serve with a pure heart, knowing that that this person is no less worthy of any help I can offer, and is acting out this way because of a need for help. The last one, Jeremiah 29, verse 11, is a scripture that many of us would know, something that I've always heard, but very, very recently, just, I guess, rang true to me. And this one says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And it's something that was always, nice and encouraging, nice and motivational. But in moments where I feel like I don't understand the direction my life is going or the will of God, when my mother died, when my engagement ended, when I was having difficulty in my last academic program with my research, and almost just ended it. I almost left the program, that is, because I was having difficulties with my advisor and difficulties not knowing what direction to take next. It's tempting to wonder, where is God in all of this? Where is this, ever-loving, ever-present force that I believe is so strong and can bring me into anything? But later on, I've found that his ways are higher than my ways. And the scripture, the Jeremiah 29, verse 11, it says that I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. So even though I, Andrew, don't understand the plans, he knows and he understands. I used the example of my research most recently to show that even though that was my biggest hurdle, I'd say, in my last academic course in specializing for pediatrics. And it was literally just something to submit and get out of the way, submit as a thesis to be able to sit the exams and move on. And it had set me back an additional 2 years, or I considered it a setback. And a month ago, my research got submitted to a national conference, a national research conference. And my submission was awarded thrice over in ways I wouldn't have expected, for top student presentation, best overall presentation, and most impactful presentation. These weren't things I was aiming for. This was something I considered, my biggest task, most annoying task actually through the course. But I had to pause and say, the time it took to understand the process and to go through it and to do it in a way that was comfortable for me, I believe that was his divine plan, to get it to a point where he gets the glory, and that through my work, there can be excellence, there can come forth excellence. So yeah, these are the guiding principles that have recently continued to bring me through. I just share this as a pediatrician. This is also something that has motivated me. And it's from an unknown author. I couldn't find the original source, but it says, 100 years from now, it will not matter what my account was, the sort of house I lived in, the kind of car I drove, but the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. And these are truly the days when, in our line of work, that we really leave smiling and leave fulfilled, when we feel like we made a difference. A child who was sick a day or two ago runs up and hugs you or grabs onto your leg just before leaving the ward when they're discharged or going back home, jumps up out of the crib and high fives you, calls you by a superhero name, or even calls you by your real name when they previously weren't well enough to speak and smile and laugh. I share with you another one of my recreations, I guess I should put it. I love to sing. I previously sang with a group, the Jamaica Methodist Youth Chorale, pre-pandemic. And that's not something that's presently going on. But the last Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in September brought a nice merger of a lot of my outlets, where we got a group together at Bustamante Hospital to sing in honor of our children who have battled childhood cancer. And we did this song. Our theme was Gold Ribbon Heroes, so that's why we're all in yellow and black. I hope my computer audio will play. Just a little snippet of it. Got that together after work. And well, I didn't even realize that it ties in like the faith aspect, because it is a Christian song, a gospel song that we did. But these are all nurses and doctors at Bustamante who love children, who have a special passion for childhood cancer. A lot of us were from the oncology team at the time. That's the team of doctors that deal with childhood cancer. And we wanted to do something special for the kids. And this was played at the church service that kicked off that month for us. And I think that is it in terms of what I have to project. I don't know if there are any questions or anything anyone would like me to expound on going forth, but this is my presentation, my up close and personal.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. The visuals were really stunning, and I liked how you use them to illustrate what you are about. Let me just throw in a couple of things.
Sure.
There was a line you used which I kind of like. It said, you said, "We serve the kids who fight." So it's not you're not doing the fighting. The kids are doing the fighting, and we serve the kids who fight. I thought that was really a telling phrase to use. And I noticed that when you're drawing attention to the K in one of your junior school uniforms,
yes,
I noticed another little, what should I call it? Thing that they clip on, another clip on that I don't think you mentioned, but it said head boy. It said head boy.
Oh. Yes, at preparatory school at Hyder.
Yes. But clearly, what really I'm amazed at, I don't, people like us don't go to hospitals unless we are patients or we go to visit people who are sick.
Right.
So to know, to realize what you do outside of the doctoring was really impressive. The costume, the shows, the dressing up as superheroes to really entertain the kids who they are stuck there because they're not going anywhere for now anyway. I thought that was really eye-opening for me, because to know that is what that is part of your doctoring, so I was really very impressed. I was really very impressed with that. The floor is open. We can spend a few more minutes asking Andrew anything else that we wanted him to elaborate on. So please.
I want to highlight a note that IPP Richard put in the chat, which is an important part of the story of the institution, the great institution that I work with. And that Bustamante was formerly the military hospital and was reassigned from the JDF to the health sector over a drink of scotch. That part I didn't know. Yeah, and a similar event occurred at the Stadium Excelsior and St. Hughes High School. Yes, the Bustamante story is quite rich. Branched off as a subset of Kingston Public Hospital, and they moved the childcare services up the road to Arthur Winton. They got some of the barracks that were used by JDF and the military hospital part. And a lot of the architecture to this day remains as it once was, just with a lot of new colors and fixtures and modernized things. So thanks, IPP, for that.
Good. So who else would like to, jump in? You can, let me make sure I can view the chat. If you put up your hand, or if you just want to open your mic and speak, we will accept that as well.
Great question. Big question. From Director Christine. How do you cope when a child dies? That is one of the toughest things to deal with. I want to say that it gets better over time, but yet I don't want to say that, because it doesn't truly get better, but you're more prepared. You're more prepared to handle the repercussions after. It's important for you as the professional that was handling the child to also kind of come to your own closure on it. But working at a pediatric hospital and working with children, our biggest focus immediately after dealing with the immediate resuscitation and death and pronouncement, which of course is an unfortunate ordeal, is looking after the family. Because with the illness of any child, it's not just a single patient. And that's something that's so unique and special about pediatrics. It's a family affair, because a child cannot do it on his or her own, even though we say they're the fighters. But they require the support and the guidance of the parents. They're dependent on us as physicians, their support from their siblings and friends. We get a lot of gifts from classes, teachers who get their other students to write cards and send to an ill child. But when the child dies, it's important to sit with the parents and to go through what has led to the death, expecting that they're going to go through their process of grief, which is going to have many stages. It's going to have the anger, the denial, the blame, before they get to acceptance. And that is to be kind of anticipated and walked through as gracefully as possible. But why I said closure was important is because we have to be a voice, a very resolute voice. It's difficult to want to cry and to want to break down and to want to emote with the family who is feeling all their feelings. But whereas that's important to empathize, we also have to be there as a source of strength and to give the facts in a way that is applicable to not only the immediate situation, but after, when they have more questions and they want more details, and when the registration of the death comes. So that's the long answer, but the short answer is it's difficult, but it's something we go through not often, not as often as in adult medicine, thankfully. But usually when we're dealing with the death of a child, it's not a sudden occurrence, something that you would have seen from a long-standing, very severe critical illness. Yeah, that you would not only prepare yourself for, but prepare the family and the loved ones for. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, yeah, you certainly did. Okay, we're gonna have someone do a thank you to you, but I'm just gonna leave it for one more minute if anyone else wants to jump in with a question.
DP Stewart?
Yes, go
Good
ahead.
evening.
Go ahead.
First, let me congratulate or thank Kiwan and Andrew. That was a very well put together presentation. I mean, I certainly learned a lot about him. I learned a lot about what it is to be a pediatric doctor in this presentation. But moving away from specifically you and the doctorate, since you do work generally with children in our country, what do you think is the major or the main difficulty our children are facing, from your perspective as a doctor?
What are the major difficulties that our children are facing?
Yes, yeah, you know, from your perspective.
Right. So, I mean, the pandemic in itself is a constellation of issues, but pre-pandemic, things that are like external to their home setting in terms of healthcare for children is a resource limitation. And that's something we feel on the part of the physicians, and the patients will feel it. And it's tough in a free healthcare system to not have the resources at the only pediatric hospital to serve the entire population. We have children coming from Montego Bay, from Savannah Lamar, often passing many other hospitals with pediatric wards to get to our institution, simply because the name is Children's. And that's what a lot of people know. And unfortunately, that brings with it a lot of delays. Their illness may have gotten worse. The waiting time is prolonged. The staff is overburdened, burnt out, and then it's a vicious cycle. That, I think, was the biggest problem pre-pandemic. Intra-pandemic, because I can't say post-pandemic, we're still in it. Through the pandemic, I think the lack of socialization that they're experiencing, lack of like one-on-one interpersonal socialization is a major issue. The schooling that's had to be done virtually, the delay generally in their schooling, virtual and otherwise, the eating practices that have taken place, they have a more sedentary lifestyle, they're at home more. Some of them may have improved their relationship with their parents from being at home more, but some have had a more tumultuous time having to share a living space and share resources more often. So I think the pandemic in itself just has brought a lot of things. So those are the things that I think that are plaguing our children. I see a question from President Paul, and I see a hand up in the chat.
Okay, take the one from President Paul.
All right.
What was your research paper based on?
So my research paper was based on skin conditions in children. That's the short answer. The title of it is the epidemiology of pediatric dermatologic conditions at a Jamaican pediatric hospital. So this was even chosen before my formal interest in pediatric dermatology. Was just more an untapped area. Actually, something that we see a lot. A lot of parents come with the concern, no matter how ill the child is otherwise, whether it be a respiratory illness, a heart disease, a lot of the cosmetic issue is what the skin looks like and what the rash is. And it's something that unfortunately we in our training don't get a lot of experience with and don't get a lot of training. Dermatologists are quite rare, much less pediatric dermatologists. So I looked at the spectrum of skin conditions, with an aim to kind of see what's here so we can guide our training of our residents or pediatric doctors going forward in the future. That's it.
And we'll take the question from the person in the chat.
Ready, see?
Yeah, right. Right. Really see.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Burton. So first of all, 2 comments and a question.
Yes.
In Philippians 4 verse 13,
Yes.
when you say I can do all things. In
Through
the earlier translation, it's really I can do all seasons through Christ who strengthens me. And that that's something I embrace, because the seasons mean it's not going to be happy all the time, or it won't be sad, but I can do all of them. And then I embrace another thing that you also talked about was but I call it differently, itching your wagon to something bigger than yourself.
Yes, yes, that's a good way to describe it. Yes.
Yeah. But my question is, in the US, there is since the pandemic, there has been an increase in mental health, mental, I want to say illness in children.
Yes.
And well, you've brought out the probably violence, I want to call it. The children are experiencing a greater number of, or a great increase in abuse.
Yes.
Have you found those to be the case in Jamaica? Increase in mental health, mental issues, and increase in, abuse to children?
Thanks for your question, and thanks for the comments as well. I appreciate it. Regarding the mental health concerns, absolutely. That one I can say, not from an evidence-based perspective, but anecdotally, just from what I've seen from the landscape of patients on the ward. We have been dealing with, and understandably so, a difficulty adjusting to life through the pandemic, especially those children who are old enough to have known a life lived with their friends, lived on the road, in the parks, at school. To have had that in your very formative years in childhood suddenly flipped and be very isolated, to see your family a lot more than you see your friends. With the change in interpersonal relations with the family, the limitations on home resources, some persons would have had significant financial challenges, and for the children to understand that it takes, quite a bit of adjustment. So we have seen an increase in depression and other manifestations of adjustment disorders. Regarding the increase in physical abuse, I can't comment to that so much as to seeing a significant rise pre-pandemic versus during, but I figure the same concept would apply just as it relates to the inbreeding of conflict and shared resources within households, leading to the potential for more verbal and physical abuse from parents and from other relatives who are now also staying home from work, inside more, having a difficult time and looking for outlets.
Okay, thanks. I notice a mic is open. I notice, Roslan, your mic is open. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Chmn and Andrew, I want to again welcome you into the club, as you alluded to.
Thank you.
You have a long history of association with Kiwanis, from Builders Club through Key
That's
Club,
right.
and now you're a member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. The club has many expectations of its members, but what are your expectations? What do you intend or hope to achieve by being a member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston?
Okay, thanks for that. I was half expecting the question, why not Circle K? but I didn't get asked that. My expectations of the club, so far, I'm on track to meeting them, and that would be to experience a sense of family and of service, and to really see service above self being put forward. I was drafted into this club before I even knew that this was an all-male club, but I can say I have felt a strong sense of brotherhood, to a fraternity coming out of this. Of course, there's a networking aspect that can become helpful. Yeah, those are my main ambitions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, DP Stewart. But
Okay.
official, yes, thank you very much, Andrew. But to do the official vote of thanks, I'll call on VP Newton to do the honors. VP Newton.
Thank you, President Paul. And you said the operative word here, honors, because it really is an honor to do this. But before I get into it, I just also want to say congrats to no longer IPP, but no DP Richard. You deserve it, sir. I mean, you worked harder than I'm pretty sure you thought you would have worked when you came in. But you pulled us through. Now, Dr. Andrew, and you know, I am just going to call you Chairman Andrew, because I can tell you, when you joined up and I knew you were a medical doctor, I kept looking at you and said, but how can I, what time did an 18-year-old have to go through medical school? Because really you look that way. Now that I've seen the pictures of your family and your father and so, I realize it's in your genes, right? I mean, when you told us that you were born in 1989, and I did the quick maths, and I saw that you're 32 years old, I said, man, I want some of the water that you're drinking, right? But you know, it was one of those presentations that held you, and you know, tonight you kind of smashed the idea that most of us have about doctors. Here you are, somebody who sings, somebody who gives service, somebody who dresses like superhero, somebody who loves to give family, have people around them, somebody with no false ego, somebody who puts God first. I mean, that's not the idea of what that most of us have of doctors, you know. And it's part of this. I have two regrets tonight. One is that you were not wearing that bow tie that I saw you have on, and two, that we didn't have 400 people on the platform listening tonight, because I'm pretty sure everyone would have been impressed. And you have represented not just the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and your medical fraternity, but you have represented humanity on a whole in a way that we have to say, thank you, sir. And I'm pretty sure those young ladies who are on the platform tonight are thinking that, real good catch here, right? Because I mean, you are everything that people think that doctors should be, right? And I wouldn't even want to claim part of you, because I must say that my kids went to World of Little People, and Kids Clinic is where they went to. So if it's even that I have to use to claim you know. I also learned, like PDT Ralston, I also learned something tonight, because I didn't know that there was such a thing as a pediatric dermatologist, right? And I mean, and when you explain to us why you want to be one, there again, we see the service coming in, because I'm pretty sure from what I've seen of you and from what we have heard, that you're not going into it just because that's where the money is. You're going into it because that's where the service is needed. So again, I want to thank you for being the type of doctor that you are. I can well understand that some kids probably, even when they get better, they don't want to go home, because having a doctor is a superhero. I mean, that's where you want to be. So thank you for being there. Thank you for showing that with greater intellect, it doesn't have to come with arrogance. You can have that great intellect as you have, still remain grounded, still remain down to earth. Thank you for showing us that science and religion are not opposed to each other. They can both coexist in a nice, friendly way that benefits everyone. And just thank you for being a real decent human being, sir. So on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and everyone else who was on this platform tonight, it was really great listening to you, and we hope that you continue being who you are. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, VP.
Thank you too.
Thank you. And Andrew, thank you very much for availing yourself this evening. I know you have to make priorities, but of course, we thank you so very much for being here. Now we move to our sergeant at arms. I'm not seeing our sergeant on this evening.
No,
he's not.
Yeah, he's not here.
Oh,
President.
okay. Yes, PDT Ralston.
When I was a new Kiwanian, the greatest thing for me was to get some memorabilia of Kiwanis, like a plaque or something. I have not heard any mention of that presentation.
We don't normally do that for this particular program.
Really?
PDT Rasta, no.
Yeah.
Any internal, all of the internal presentations, but that's another story. We don't do that for that.
Okay. Well, our sergeant's not here this evening to take to level fine on us. So I don't know if PDT Ralston can share a joke with us. PDT Ralston, I don't know if you have any joke.
I think we have some SLPs here, Sarge. I would not venture down that road.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you very much.
You can't find a clean joke, Ralston.
All right, we move on to our notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities. Dear G. Willie.
Thank you, President Paul. So far as notices and announcements, let me just advise the club that on Saturday at 9 o'clock, we'll be repainting the interior of Marie Atkins Shelter downstairs at 9 o'clock. We'll be assisted by a number of persons, including Circle Care from Michael. On Christmas Day, we'll be caroling, as usual, at the Osenham Home and the Salvation Army for Senior Citizen Home. Following that, we'll be doing a presentation of toys to the children at the Bustamante Children's Hospital. I should mention that the coin collection drive, I've decided to spearhead that, and any member who has coins that they want to bring in, just make contact with me and I'll arrange to collect it. We have so far received a considerable amount, so just give me a ring and we'll make arrangements. Just to let you know, on the 15th of January, we'll also be painting the outside of the Seaview Gardens Police Station in collaboration with Michael Circle K. This is a follow-up to our Father's Day project at the Seaview Gardens Police Station. They already advised us that they need 10 gallons of blue and 2 white. We have, through the efforts of distinguished President Richard Reese, we have a number of gallons of paints, and all we have to do is swap out some for blue. In terms of interclubbing opportunities, if one comes to mind that tomorrow, just on Thursday, we've been invited to North St. Andrews weekly meeting. President Paul, those are announcements. You may want to ask if there are any visiting clubs that may have announcements, you can share with us.
Yes, thank you very much, dear G. Willie. Yes, do we, will I give, yes, I will ask any visiting clubs on our platform if they have any announcements or that they want to share with us. I see President Janil from New Kingston, welcome. Well, with that, no announcements from.
Sorry,
Yeah,
President,
yes,
President Paul?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, President Paul, in the absence of the Sarge, just to keep our thing uniform, I would just like to contribute 2 quotes which I think us Kiwanians will find commonality with. The first one says, even if it's a little thing, do something for those who need help, something for which you get no pay but the privilege of doing it. And that was by Albert Schweitzer. And the second one says, volunteers are not paid, not because they are worthless, but because they are priceless. Thank you, President Paul.
Yes, thank you very much, VP Newton. And of course, that is fitting for our Chmn and healthcare worker, Dr. Andrew Burton, the second quote. Well, we move on to the, well, we now have the thought for the week, and we'll ask DP.
Yes,
yes,
if I may,
yes,
you.
please. Yes, go ahead.
So it's not a club, but it's a division reminder that on Sunday we journey to the Constant Spring Primary and Junior High School for our YCPO and community service project, where we'll be hosting 60 children ages 4 to 12 and having a wonderful treat for them on the day. So Kiwanis is bringing Santa to those communities early this year. I know members from your club will be present and will also be on YouTube and Facebook. So we want everyone to tune in and just come on and give us some support as we serve the little babies in those communities.
Yes, thank you very much, DP Dominic. Could you remind us of the time, please?
Sure. So it starts at 10 a.m. with K Christmas service and then K Christmas Presents treat. And it is at Constant Spring Primary and Junior High School on December 19th, which is Sunday coming.
Okay, thank you very much, DP Dominic. Well, okay, let us move to let us know of the thought for the week, and DP Stewart, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, President Paul. As usual, I have 2. The first one says, if you really want something, you will find a way. If you really don't want something, you will find an excuse. And the second one is, there's only one way to avoid criticism. Do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. And, you know, we know that based on that, Andrew will be subject to criticism. Thank you, President Paul. Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much, DP Stewart. Well, it is now time that we're going to raise our glass to a toast to Kiwanis International and to Jamaica land we love. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated at 8:27 p.m.
Excellent timing.
Yes, thank you very much, DP Richard.